Good evening, America. Welcome to N3 Primetime. I'm Angie, and we've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. First up, fireworks in Georgia as Governor Brian Kemp and State Senator Colton Moore go head-to-head. Moore says, "Make my day." But will this internal GOP feud ring the national alarm bell? We'll dig in. Next, Donald Trump's trial set to live stream on YouTube. Is justice being traded for entertainment? Stay tuned. Then Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, once the darling of the GOP, now spiraling in a troubled presidential run. Is he bowing out to Trump's A-game? Also, Fani Willis, the DA prosecuting Trump, finds herself in hot water. Are her days numbered? And finally, White House claims about border security are causing an uproar. Has trust in the Biden administration hit rock bottom? But wait, there's more. Don't miss our comment section where we read your thoughts on burning issues. And in our Looking at You segment, we spotlight someone stirring the pot in a way you won't want to miss. Now let's toss it over to Gary Franchi for tonight's top stories. Gary, take it away.
Good evening, America, and welcome to N3 Primetime. And tonight we've got stories that go beyond the headlines. They cut to the very core of who we are as a nation and what our republic is destined to become. We're talking about internal fractures within the Republican Party that are sounding alarm bells, not just in Georgia, but nationwide. And what about the justice system? Is it transforming into a stage for viral content rather than a bastion of law and order? And let's not forget border security or the lack thereof, and how public trust seems to be eroding faster than you can say Title 42. And speaking of erosion, there's something to consider. Since the 70s, the U.S. dollar has lost 85% of its value, just like the divisive politics we're seeing could leave our Republic weekend. The unlimited money printing ahead of elections could tank our economy. Inflation is the silent thief of your savings. But unlike political promises, gold withstands inflation. Don't let your financial future erode. Invest with Noble Gold Investments, and to sweeten the deal, you'll get a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Visit nextnewsgold.com or dial 877-646-5347 to secure your future right now. And even if you're not investing, give them a call and tell them thank you for supporting this program. Now, Angie, we've got our viewers eagerly waiting. What stories will you be covering on tonight's jam-packed episode?
All right, America, I have a set of explosive stories you absolutely cannot afford to miss tonight. First up, the Biden administration is dropping the ball, this time in the middle of the catastrophic Maui wildfires. The question is, why is the response so inadequate? Lives are at stake, and it's time for accountability. Then California tops the chart in cancel culture. But is it a glimpse into our nation's future? You won't believe which states are close behind. And folks, get this, Senator Ted Cruz goes full throttle against Biden's alcohol czar. Why does the left want to control every darn aspect of your life? We'll dive into that. Plus, is President Joe Biden physically and mentally fit for office? New revelations are causing major concerns, even among Democrats. And finally, a chart-topping song is sparking a clash between liberal elites and hardworking Americans. Why are the elites so rattled? These stories aren't just headlines, they're warning signs, America. They get right to the heart of the battles over governance, public trust, and personal freedom that we as a nation face. Now let's get into the first special report of the night. Gary, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're about to tear the curtain back on a story that you won't hear from the mainstream media. Deep within the political landscape of Georgia, a fight is brewing. A fight that epitomizes the schism within the Republican Party and the war over America's core principles. State Senator Colton Moore, with the full backing of President Donald J. Trump, is demanding a special session to cut down the politicized actions of Fulton County's district attorney. In a shocking turn, Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp seems more inclined to uphold the status quo than to answer the call for justice. This isn't just Georgia's battle. This is America's battle, and you need to know about it. You don't want to miss a moment of this special report, especially the final thought, where we dig into the unsettling ramifications for the future of American freedom and justice. Stay with us. This is one story for the history books. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's story. You'll recall Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp, yes, the same governor who refused to call a special session to overturn the 2020 election results, even when the millions of voices were calling for it. Now this same governor is targeting a man who has become the tip of the spear in the fight against overreach and corruption. State Senator Colton Moore. Watch.
I did want to take just a few minutes to speak to some history that's trying to repeat itself over the last few days here in Georgia. Many of you will recall that in the final weeks of 2020, I clearly and repeatedly said that I would not be calling a special session of the General Assembly to overturn the 2020 election results because such an action would have been unconstitutional. It was that simple. Fast forward today, nearly 3 years later, memories are fading fast. There have been calls by one individual in the General Assembly and echoed outside of these walls by the former president for a special session that would ignore current Georgia law and directly interfere with the proceedings of a separate but equal branch of government. Now, my concerns with the Fulton County District Attorney's handling of this case and the special purpose grand jury have been well documented. We are now seeing what happens when prosecutors move forward with highly charged indictments and trials in the middle of an election. Simply put, it sows distrust and provides easy pickings for those who see the district attorney's action as guided by politics. But let me be clear. We have a law in the state of Georgia that clearly outlines the legal steps that can be taken if constituents believe their local prosecutors are violating their oath by engaging in unethical or illegal behavior. Up to this point, I have not seen any evidence that DA Willis's actions or lack thereof warrant action by the Prosecuting Attorney Oversight Commission. But that will ultimately be a decision that the commission will make. Regardless, in my mind, a special session of the General Assembly to end run around this law is not feasible and may ultimately prove to be unconstitutional. The bottom line is that in the state of Georgia, as long as I'm governor, we're going to follow the law and the Constitution, regardless of who it helps or harms politically. Over the last few years, some inside and outside of this building may have forgotten that, but I can assure you, I have not. The oath I took with my hand on the Bible that's right behind me in January of 23 is the same Bible that I took in my inauguration in 2019. And in Georgia, we will not be engaging in political theater that only inflames the emotions of the moment. We will do what is right. We will uphold our oaths as public servants. And it's my belief that our state will be better off for it. And with that, Director Stallings and I are glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, I got some questions for you. Now, Kemp had the audacity to say in his press conference that he doesn't want to engage in political theater and that he's following the Constitution. That's rich coming from a governor who ignored the voices of his own constituents. He accused Colton Moore of trying to interfere with other branches of government. Well, let's be clear. What Colton Moore is doing is standing up for the very values and freedoms that seem to be slipping away in this great nation. Colton Moore isn't sitting idle, and he's not alone. He demands a special session primarily to defund District Attorney Fani Willis, who he accuses of using Georgia tax dollars to hold political prisoners. Moore is tired of the blind justice in Fulton County. Watch.
I have a constitutional duty as a senator to do my job. As a legislator, I can't do anything unless I'm in session. And that's why I'm demanding that we have a special session today. First and foremost, defund Fani Willis. Now, the governor says that might not be fully constitutional. Well, guess what? Let's give her $1. The rest of the money should be taken away because she is using her Georgia tax dollars right now to take on political prisoners. She is forgetting about the justice that needs to happen in the Fulton County Jail. It's an absolute disgrace to the Constitution what she's doing.
Let's give her $1. He says as he demands that the rest of the money be taken away because, according to him, she's forgetting about real justice. Well, it's about time someone said it. Moore stands against the absurdity that we're witnessing in Fulton County, but guess what? Kemp and his Rhino allies are now targeting Moore. They're discussing removing him from the political caucus, stripping him from his committee assignments, essentially neutering his political influence. Now, let's pause for a second. Dr. Gondry, a respected cardiologist, he's warning Americans about so-called healthy foods that are actually toxic. It's almost like these feuds, just like Governor Kemp, he's upholding justice and American values when in fact, he may be doing the exact opposite, poisoning the system. If you don't want to be tricked, get access to Dr. Gundry's life-changing information by visiting gutcleanseprotocol.com/nextnews. The link is in the description. Don't fall for the label. Know what's really in the package. And folks, this isn't some isolated squabble in the Peach State. This is a microcosm of the struggles happening within the Republican Party at large. Genuine conservatives pitted against rhinos, establishment figures happy to engage in empty rhetoric while doing nothing substantive. But you know who's standing with more? None other than Donald J. Trump himself. Watch.
Highly respected Georgia State Senator Colton Moore deserves thanks and congratulations of everyone for having the courage and conviction to fight the radical left lunatics who are so badly hurting the great state of Georgia and, frankly, the USA itself. Failed DA Fani Willis, who has allowed Atlanta and Fulton County to become a record-setting murder and violent crime war zone with almost no retribution for those murderers, shockingly indicted your favorite president, me, for a perfect phone call. She is very bad for America. She is very bad for Georgia. And the bottom line is we're going to win. We're going to turn our country around. I want to thank the great people of Georgia for putting up with this crap. Thank you very much.
Trump congratulates Moore for having the courage and conviction to fight the radical left lunatics and acknowledges that Georgia is facing challenges due to corrupt officials. You have to wonder, why is Kemp so opposed to a senator who has Trump's backing and who is standing up for the same values that so many Americans hold dear? Now, the lieutenant governor, Burt Jones, might also be in the crosshairs, and all this smells less like upholding the Constitution, as Kemp would have you believe, and more like a political hit job orchestrated at the highest levels of Georgia's government. Moore's reaction? Well, it's brilliant in all of its defiant glory. Watch.
Yeah, I say make my day. If they want to vote me out of the caucus, let them vote me out of the caucus. But I stand for American freedom, and I don't care if it's a fellow Republican in my caucus. I don't care if it's Governor Brian Kemp. I will not let anyone stand in the way of my sworn constitutional oath to protect this Constitution. And right now, with these 19 people being indicted, all they were doing was questioning the integrity of an election, and now they are being taken political prisoner. A fellow member in my Senate caucus is going to face the rest of his life in prison, going to spend $1 million to defend himself, and some of my colleagues are worried that if they speak out, they're going to be held in obstruction. What a constitutional crisis we are in, and unfortunately, my fellow representatives and senators, they would rather stand in silence and let Fani Willis get by with what she is getting by with than stand up and call for a special session. A legislator, a senator or representative, is absolutely powerless unless they are in session. And what do we do when we get in session? All it takes is a simple majority to defund Fani Willis. We have 33 Republicans in the Georgia Senate. We only need 29 to defund Fani Willis. And I tell you what, my constituents and citizens across Georgia do not want their tax dollars funding this type of corruption.
He says, make my day, signaling that he is not afraid of getting voted out. He won't let anyone stand in the way of his constitutional oath, and Moore isn't concerned about party politics. He's worried about America, the Constitution, and about freedom. He challenges his fellow legislators to stand up and call for a special session, showing that he's not the one sidestepping the law or the Constitution. It's those who are standing against him. Now, this report is far than a pretty feud between two politicians. It's a lens into the state of our union, our values, and our freedoms. The body politic is experiencing a severe bout of indigestion, and it might be just time for a cleanse. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss our final thought. Now, we've journeyed through the dark alleyways of Georgia's political scene, witnessing the fervor of one man's stand against the establishment. The story of Senator Colton Moore isn't just about a state-level feud. It's a microcosm of the broader divisions we're witnessing in our great nation. When power becomes entrenched, When the political class becomes more focused on gamesmanship than governance, it's the American people who suffer. As you go about your evening, ponder this. In a country built on the principles of democracy, freedom, and justice, isn't it time we held our elected officials to the same standards that we expect of ourselves? Today it's Georgia, but tomorrow the battleground could be your own backyard. Stay vigilant, America. Now, Angie, what can you tell us about Peter Doocy's tough questioning on the Biden administration's response to the devastating Maui wildfires?
The Biden administration's inadequacy is glaring, this time amid the devastating Maui wildfires in Hawaii. During a press briefing, Fox News' Peter Doocy had the courage to question the federal government's action, or rather lack of it, compared to their handling of recent hurricanes. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre snapped back, calling the question flawed. But let's look at something here. With nearly 115 dead and over 850 people missing, this is a question that needed to be asked. Locals even protested Biden's visit. Why? Perhaps they're fed up with the lackluster federal response. If this administration had prioritized the wildfires like they did hurricanes, maybe, just maybe, more lives could have been saved. Once again, they prove they are not up to the task. It's time for a leader who puts Americans first. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Now for a special report, let's talk about how YouTube is bracing for an unprecedented server meltdown during the Trump trial. Gary, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, now a special report that could alter the very fabric of this nation. President Donald Trump's trial on election interference is not just set for the courtroom. It's set to take over YouTube and maybe even the entire internet. Now, they say this trial could break every viewership record, potentially surpassing even Tucker Carlson's historic interview with Trump. But is it a triumph or a national tragedy? Keep watching, because by the end of this special report, I'm going to lay out why this is such a critical moment for America, one that you don't want to take your eyes off. And trust me, you don't want to miss my final thought. It's a perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The spectacle is about to unfold in an unprecedented fashion. Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee announced that Donald Trump's trial for alleged election interference will be live streamed for the world to see. And not just any platform. We're talking YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Forbes is calling the event that might just melt the servers at YouTube. An event that could even eclipse Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson, an interview that garnered 263 million views. Now let that sink in for a moment. That's more than double the viewership of Oprah's interview with Michael Jackson, which was the reigning champion for years. Now, let's put this in perspective. Most criminal trials aren't even televised, let alone live streamed. Why? Because the courtroom is a sacred place of justice, not a theater for public spectacle. Trump has already had his inaugural mugshot taken. He's been indicted by a Fulton County grand jury on 41 counts, along with his 18 co-defendants for attempting to reverse the 2020 presidential election results in Georgia. And this case stands out from his other 3 criminal proceedings, which, if you recall, had no cameras in the courtroom. But this is not just a legal battle. This is shaping up to be a media circus fueled by a justice system that seems intent on turning judicial process into public spectacle. It's almost like they want to provide the popcorn while you watch America's institutions crumble. And now we know Donald Trump has entered a not guilty plea, waiving his right to appear at the arraignment. This strategic maneuver, whether you agree with it or not, suggests he's planning for an uncertain future. And speaking of uncertain futures, it's hard to ignore the fact that since the 70s, the United States dollar has lost 85% of its value. It's why I put my trust in something proven to withstand the test of time: gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can too. Secure your future today, and you'll even receive a free 24-karat quarter-ounce gold standard coin. Just visit nextnewsgold.com or give them a call at 877-646-5347. Now, in a world where the only certainty is uncertainty, both in our economy and in our justice system, Judge Scott McAfee is the man who will be steering this legal ship through uncharted waters. The indictment against Trump includes 13 counts, one of which is a racketeering charge, and that's drawing a lot of attention. Stephen H. Sato, a veteran in high-profile cases, is lead counsel defending Trump. A not guilty plea sets the stage for what's likely to be a drama-filled legal battle. District Attorney Fani Willis has even asked for a uniform trial date for all accused parties. Pre-trial motions, strategies, witnesses. The courtroom will soon be a battlefield unlike we've never seen before. So what's at stake? What are we really looking at here? Well, we're looking at a court trial that threatens to overshadow the very cause it's supposed to serve, justice. When something becomes a spectacle, it runs the risk of becoming entertainment rather than a solemn process aimed at determining guilt or innocence. But why YouTube? Why not keep the proceedings in the judicial arena where they belong? It seems to me that by taking it to a platform like YouTube, where viral videos and memes reign supreme, we risk making a mockery of the charges brought against Trump, the justice system, and the sanctity of the electoral process. Are we expected to share, subscribe, and like justice now? Let's not forget, we've seen this movie before. Public figures embroiled in court dramas that capture the national imagination. O.J. Simpson, anyone? But this is different. This isn't just any celebrity. It's a former president of the United States. His actions and the subsequent verdict will have implications not just for him, but for the American justice system and our republic at large. Which brings us to this point. Can the American justice system handle this level of exposure and scrutiny without faltering? Sidney Powell and Ray Smith, former attorneys for Trump, have already entered their not guilty pleas. Trump's co-defendants are gearing up for a legal battle that lies ahead. The American justice system's on trial too, it seems. Will it hold up, or will it bow to the pressure of public opinion, pushed and pulled by the tide of a live stream watched by millions? So here is the critical question. Is this justice, or is this entertainment? Ladies and gentlemen, the sheer enormity of the viewership this trial is expected to get is astronomical. But what does this say about us as a nation? We must tread cautiously. In our hunger for the spectacle, we can't lose sight of the gravity of the charges at hand. We're not just talking about a man's fate. We're talking about the integrity of American justice, the sanctity of our elections, and the very foundations of our republic. And that, my friends, is not something to be gambled with in the court of public opinion, nor should it be relegated to some mere internet spectacle. Remember, in America, the courtroom should be a bastion of justice, not a theater for YouTube views. So why is California leading the nation in the growing trend of celebrity cancel culture? Angie, give us the scoop.
California takes the cake again, but not for something to be proud of. According to a new survey by onlinecasinos.com, the Golden State scores a perfect 100 in cancel culture, leading the nation. A stunning 59% of Californians would ditch a canceled celebrity on social media, beating the national average of 52.3%. But hold on, liberal hotbeds Kentucky and Alabama aren't far behind. Shockingly, 18% of Kentuckians publicly shame stars online. But there's a glimmer of hope. 69% of Americans would ultimately forgive and refollow a celebrity after a year in the social doghouse. Idaho emerges as our nation's most forgiving state, scoring a 0 in cancel culture. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just a California problem. It's an American problem threatening to turn our great nation into a mob-ruled society. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Next up, we have some campaign-crushing news for DeSantis that has Trump cheering. Gary, what's the story?
And now a special report you don't want to miss tonight, because we have a real political thriller on our hands. We're not talking about a Washington spy novel. We're talking about the dramatic, if not catastrophic, unraveling of Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign. Yes, you heard it right. The once shining star of the Republican Party has found himself in a political sinkhole all of his own making. If you thought you knew the whole story, just wait until you hear our final thought. The Florida governor's dreams of occupying the Oval Office might be evaporating faster than a puddle in the Florida sun. The question is, who's gaining as DeSantis is slipping? We'll stick around and find out. And now, what could only be described as a political car wreck, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida has found himself tangled in an ever-growing heap of obstacles, all of his own making. DeSantis, once considered a rising star in the conservative movement, is learning the hard way that presidential ambitions require more than just big talk and photo ops. You see, the dissolution of his $50 million super PAC, originally formed to prop up the governor's presidential dreams, it tells us something fundamentally important. It's not enough to be a favorite among the right-wing Twitterati. You need savvy strategy and, more importantly, the ability to execute qualities that DeSantis clearly doesn't have. This downfall began in earnest when John Thomas, a heavyweight Republican strategist, formed the Ron to the Rescue campaign. Now, Thomas is no amateur. He knows the ropes, and he has the scars to prove it. Yet even he couldn't polish the DeSantis campaign, filled as it was with rookie errors that Thomas himself called rookie shit mistakes. Watch.
Organizers with that super PAC, a major super PAC that raised tens of millions of dollars in commitments from donors for the Ron DeSantis presidential campaign, have changed their minds. The founder of the Ron to the Rescue super PAC announcing he will now support President Trump. Let's bring in that super PAC founder, John Thomas, a Republican strategist. John, thanks for being here. Tell me what initially drew you to DeSantis when you'd previously backed the former president in 2016 and 2020?
Sure. Essentially, during the last midterm cycle, we were promised a red wave, and we really got a red mist at best. And yet you looked at what happened with Governor DeSantis in Florida, and he created a red tsunami on the same night the rest of the country was kind of weak in terms of Republican showing. And also, Ron DeSantis showed at that point that he could put together non-traditional Republican coalitions that the Republicans have had a difficult time getting in other elections. And so it seemed like we had to do something different. It seemed like the Republican electorate was open to something different. And we had to get back to winning, but we also had to have the Trump agenda. And so I, along with a lot of grassroots supporters and major donors, said, okay, let's draft DeSantis, encourage him to run for president because we think he's got the stuff. Except there was one problem, Adrian. It's that when Governor DeSantis did end up launching, he had a failure to launch and he's never recovered. And while he may be a great governor, he's not ready for the national stage. And we don't think that he's ready to beat Joe Biden. And on the flip side, Adrian, we think that Donald Trump, in spite of all of his legal challenges, has honestly run nearly a flawless effort with strategic ad spends against his opponent DeSantis, good messaging choices that really I hadn't seen in 2016 or 2020. So for all of those reasons, we all reverse course to get behind Donald Trump, not just because we think he's going to be the nominee, but honestly, we think he's the best person to beat Joe Biden in the general.
Absolutely devastating news for DeSantis. Now, if you're among the 74% of adults in this country who are overweight, with 40% being obese, it's time to take control of your health, and I recommend a remarkable supplement that contains CLA, a natural ingredient proven to break down fat. Transform your life today for 51% off and get additional free bonuses. Visit trimwithgary.com or click the link below. Now back to our discussion. So what exactly did DeSantis do to implode his own campaign? Well, let's start with a Twitter Spaces debacle. When you launch a presidential campaign, you get one shot to make a first impression. And what does DeSantis do? He bungles it. In an interview with Elon Musk on the popular social platform, well, it could have been a home run. Instead, it turned into a series of unfortunate errors, giving critics ample fodder to question his competence. Andrew Romeo, DeSantis campaign communications director, called the dissolution of the super PAC welcome news. But don't be fooled. What he called a scam PAC was, in fact, a barometer of DeSantis' own shortcomings. When your campaign can't get along with a PAC, that there's support for you, the issue's like closer to home than you care to admit. Now contrast this with the political acumen of Donald Trump. Regardless of how you feel about the former president, there's no denying he knows how to make headlines, rally the troops, and raise money. Thomas, the same strategist who initially backed DeSantis, has decided to divert his energies and resources to Trump. Why? Because Trump's campaign is a well-oiled machine. Thomas noted that Trump's campaign showed a level of savvy and discipline that he hadn't seen before. Trump's campaign wisely invested over $20 million in ads, attacking DeSantis before the governor could even launch his own race. Now that strategy, that's execution, and that's how you run a successful campaign. It's not just Thomas who is jumping ship. Robert Bigelow, a significant contributor to the DeSantis campaign, also decided to pull his support. Initially donating a whopping $20 million, Bigelow expressed his intention to withhold further financial backing. And the reason? DeSantis' polarizing stance on the social issues, such as the Florida abortion ban, has proven too much for the hotel mogul. Thomas and his network of wealthy donors are now deliberating on how to funnel resources into Trump's campaign. This comes after an election period where Trump already outraised both Biden and DeSantis. Thomas said it best when he said, "We're going to determine where we can fill the gaps if it's needed." But let's be honest, when it comes to Donald Trump, there aren't many gaps to fill. In short, DeSantis' campaign is the political equivalent of rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. While Donald Trump is sailing full steam ahead, DeSantis seems to be navigating a ship right into an iceberg. And let's be real here. There's nothing that can save the Florida governor from sinking his own presidential aspirations. So if DeSantis was your horse in this race, it might be time to reassess. Because as things stand, he's not just losing ground, he's losing credibility. And in politics, once you lose that, it's game over. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just a tale of political missteps and rookie errors. It's a hard, cold lesson in the realities of American politics. Ron DeSantis had all the makings of a contender, but lacked the finesse, the strategy, and quite frankly, the competence to navigate the treacherous waters of a presidential run. On the flip side, we see the return of a seasoned veteran, Donald Trump, showing once again that experience and campaign savvy matter. America can't afford to bet on a shaky candidate. In these turbulent times, we need leadership that has been tested, not one that fumbles and bumbles its way into obscurity. If DeSantis was your guy, it's time to think again, because in these high-stake games, the losers don't just go home, they fade into irrelevance. Angie, what's the story behind Senator Ted Cruz's epic three-word response to Biden's new alcohol guidelines?
Senator Ted Cruz isn't holding back when it comes to President Biden's so-called alcohol czar. Yes, you heard it right, an alcohol czar. Cruz blasted the notion that Americans should limit themselves to just 2 beers a week, calling the idea nuts. Appearing on Newsmax, Cruz asked, "Why does Biden even have an alcohol czar? What is it with liberals wanting to control every darn aspect of your life? From gas stoves to ceiling fans and now your weekend beer?" Cruz wasn't mincing words, telling the administration they can kiss my you-know-what if they think they're going to dictate how many beers Americans should have. It's another glaring example of overreach, trying to control even the most personal choices in our lives. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Gary, a major twist in Georgia. Lawmakers are pulling the legal trigger against Fani Willis. What's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got an electric development coming out of the Peach State. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is facing a reckoning, yes, a reckoning, by her own state legislators. Just when Willis thought she was going to make a name for herself prosecuting former President Donald Trump, the tides are turning, my friends. Georgia Republicans are pulling a legal fast one ready to dismantle her judicial charade. Using a new law that was actually signed by Governor Brian Kemp, they're prepared to strip her of her prosecutorial powers. Can you believe it? We've got all the jaw-dropping details and more. You'll want to stick around for the entire broadcast because the final thought is going to knock your socks off. Buckle up, folks. Now, here's what's cooking in Georgia. Fani Willis has gotten herself in a bit of a pickle. She thought she could score some brownie points by going after former President Donald Trump with racketeering charges tied to the 2020 election. Now, but she's about to find out what it means to dance with the big dogs. A cadre of Republican lawmakers is putting Willis under the microscope. They're talking impeachment. They're talking investigations. And why? Because they believe Willis has embarked on a partisan probe targeting the leader of the free world and the 2024 GOP frontrunner. The instrument of her own downfall? Well, a recent law signed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp, of all people. It allows the creation of a new commission, the Prosecuting Attorneys Qualifications Commission, or PAQC for short. Starting October 1st, this commission can review complaints against district attorneys like Willis who might not be fulfilling their constitutional and statutory duties. To quote Kemp, this commission functions as a valuable oversight mechanism for district attorneys. It's a tool to hold them accountable, especially those who are more interested in playing politics than upholding the law. And speaking of accountability, it's time for something else that's all about improving your life. Now, folks, if you're over 30, you know your body just doesn't keep up like it used to. But that's where Gain with Gary comes in. Their product boasts ingredients like MyHMB, creatine, and betaine, vitamin D3. Now, this isn't about slowing down aging. It's about taking back control of your body. Like Georgia Republicans are taking back control from politically motivated district attorneys, you too can regain your strength and resilience. Visit gainwithgary.com for a massive 41% discount and extra gifts. Now back to the story at hand. State Senator Clint Dixon has publicly stated that he plans to call on the PAQC to investigate Willis for allegedly targeting Trump for political purposes. And according to Dixon, Willis' actions show an unabashed goal to become some sort of leftist celebrity. That's right. He's saying Willis is more interested in the spotlight than in justice. And when that oversight committee is appointed come October, you can bet they'll be scrutinizing Willis with an eagle eye. Now let's talk about something that will really boil your blood. During an interview with Charlie Kirk on Real America's Voice, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich dropped some explosive information. According to a reliable source, Willis was given a directive from someone in Washington to indict Trump as quickly as possible. But why the hurry? Well, according to Gingrich, it's all about shifting focus away from David Weiss, the U.S. attorney who didn't go after Hunter Biden. Let's take a look at this clip from Gingrich.
That I am told, this is hearsay, but I am told by a reliable source that Friday evening somebody from Washington called the district attorney in Atlanta and said, you have to indict on Monday. We have to cover up all of the mistakes we just made with Weiss. And she said, apparently, my jurors aren't coming back till Tuesday. And they said, you didn't hear me. You have to indict on Monday. And she said, well, they're not going to get here before noon. They said, it doesn't matter. She said, this means it's going to be 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They said, it doesn't matter. We need the news media shifting.
Who made that phone call?
We don't know. And I'm telling you up front, this is hearsay, but it's from a person who has remarkably good sources.
I totally believe it, though, because that would explain why they leaked and they messed up on the clerk document, why she was exhausted, and why they had the 11 p.m. press conference, Mr. Speaker.
Wow, did you catch that? A potential obstruction of justice to cover up another cover-up. The audacity. Gingrich acknowledges that what he's saying is hearsay, but let's not forget that Gingrich has connections that run deep. If this is even partly true, then Willis isn't just being partisan. She might be a puppet in a larger political scheme aimed at diverting attention from real issues. Let's not forget, 4 other district attorneys in Georgia have filed lawsuit against this new law, claiming it violates both the Georgia state and U.S. Constitution. So, what are they afraid of? Oversight? Accountability? If they're so confident in their roles as unbiased administrators of justice, why oppose a mechanism meant to keep them in check? But the most intriguing question of all, what happens if Willis is removed? Will the indictment against Trump and the 18 others simply vanish like a puff of smoke? Or will another district attorney pick up where she left off? But whoever steps in will have to think twice before letting politics guide their prosecution, thanks to this new law. So why does it matter to you, the American people? Well, it's simple. This is a crucial battle over the sanctity of our legal system. A partisan prosecutor who targets political figures isn't just setting a dangerous precedent, they are undermining the very core of a republic that's supposed to treat everyone equally under the rule of law. What's happening to Fani Willis is not just a Georgia issue, it's an American issue. This isn't merely about one district attorney's alleged misconduct, it's about ensuring that the justice system remains free from the taint of political bias and manipulation. With the 2024 election on the horizon, the outcome in Georgia could set the tone for how the law interacts with politics nationwide. In the end, it's a fight for the soul of our country. And that, my friends, is something we should all care about. Angie, what are the shocking revelations about President Biden's health? There's a new tell-all book.
Concerns are skyrocketing about President Joe Biden's mental and physical health, as laid bare in Franklin Foer's new tell-all book, The Last Politician. It paints a grim picture. Biden, the oldest president in U.S. history, is battling severe fatigue, memory loss, and has even dozed off during critical events. It's not just conservatives raising eyebrows. A recent AP poll shows a staggering 69% of Democrats are concerned about Biden's age and cognitive abilities. While the White House calls these concerns ridiculous, the evidence suggests otherwise. From stumbling on stairs to forgetting names, Biden's blunders are more than just embarrassing. They are a threat to effective governance. America deserves a leader fit to face our nation's challenges. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. Gary, get ready for this one. Karine Jean-Pierre is spinning a jaw-dropping fantasy about border control. What's the latest?
And now we have a story so jaw-dropping it's almost hard to believe. Could someone standing at the podium of the White House really tell such a grand lie that it shakes the very core of our trust in government? Karine Jean-Pierre, better known as KGP, claims that the Biden administration has secured the border more than anyone else. You heard that right. In a world where the absurd often gets a pass, this takes the cake. And if you think that's outrageous, wait until you hear the final thought. We've got one for you tonight. And it's not just about the audacity to lie, it's about what this lie reveals about the future of our nation. So trust me, you don't want to miss this. Now hold on to your seats, America, because you're about to hear an audacious claim, one that redefines the word absurdity. KJP actually said with a straight face the president has done more to secure the border and deal with the issue of immigration than anyone else. Roll tape.
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else. He really has.
Did I hear that correctly?
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else. He really has.
Oh, he really... Wait, what? What was that?
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else. He really has.
It's a statement so outrageous, it's almost comedic if the consequences weren't so dire. Now, first off, let's set the record straight. A secure border? We're talking about the same Biden administration that has overseen the illegal crossings of millions of people since January of 2021. The one whose policies have invited the largest caravans of illegal immigrants ever recorded. We're talking about the same border that was flooded with over 1,000 illegal immigrants in just one night in El Paso, Texas, last December. Ladies and gentlemen, if KJB considers this securing the border, then I have to question her definition of security. Watch. Most secure border ever. All those people invited by the Biden administration. It's absurd. It keeps going, doesn't stop. This is footage from Bill Maloogian down at the border. He's a Fox reporter. He's been covering the border. Look at this. They got fires, roasted marshmallows down there, waiting for their Walmart gift cards. Hey, look at this. They're having a beach party now. I'm waiting for Cobra Kai to come down on their motorbikes and break it up. It just keeps going. I mean, there's look at it. It just keeps going. Look, this isn't just simple negligence we're talking about. This is a betrayal of the very concept of national integrity. The Biden regime has not only refused to enforce existing border laws, but they also actively encourage lawbreaking by halting wall construction and pushing policies that are practically a welcome mat for illegal immigration. Does that sound like a secure border to you? Now, you might be wondering why KJP would utter such an egregious lie. Well, it's simple, really. They're playing a game, a dangerous game of deception and manipulation. KJP knows the border is porous, but she's counting on you not to know, or even worse, to doubt your own understanding in light of her baseless claims. My friends, this is textbook gaslighting aimed directly at the heart of the American public. Now here's another video from Fox News. Bill Malugin, last month, shows a large group of several hundred migrants that unexpectedly crossed illegally near Fronton, Texas. Watch. Another set. This happens on the daily at the border. A never-ending flow. And many of these are just catch and release. Oh, don't worry, there's an app for that. Oh, you're claiming asylum? We'll just fill out the app and you can go about your business. It's sad. These people make this trek. Women and children. Believe me, my heart goes out to these people for what they're enduring in their home countries, but there are laws here that have to be upheld. And speaking of preparing for the unexpected, we can't always foresee life's curveballs, economic instability, natural disasters, or let's say a government that fails to secure its borders. That's why you need to be prepared. My Patriot Supply has got you covered with a special 25% discount on their 3-month emergency food kit. Because the only thing worse than a lying government is a lying government that leaves you unprepared. Look what's happening in Maui. Visit preparewithgary.com now. You never know when you will need it. So let's continue this dissection of the KJP fantasy. The Biden administration has the audacity to replace the enforcement of Title 42 with Title 8 expedited removal. Translation? They're making it easier for illegal immigrants to stay in the country. And then they have the gall to stand there and say, they're doing more for border security than anyone else? It's an upside-down world, folks. Where are the fact checkers? Why isn't anyone holding KJP accountable? I mean, I'm doing my best over here. Okay? But the answer, dear viewers, is that many in the mainstream media, they are complicit. They would rather focus on social media memes and the latest Twitter spat than just one of the gravest national security issues facing our country. This isn't just about bending the truth. It's a 180-degree flip from reality. And it doesn't stop there. Even experts on the matter, like Immigration Authority Todd Bensman, have revealed the depth of the administration's deception. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not merely opening the door. They're rolling out the red carpet, complete with a welcome banner and gift bags. This isn't incompetence. This is calculated. And while KJP preens in front of the camera, our border agents are overwhelmed, our resources are stretched thin, and American citizens are put at risk. KJP's claim is an affront to every American who believes in the rule of law, every border agent who risks their life to control the chaos, and every taxpayer whose money is being squandered on a problem the government is pretending to solve but is actually exacerbating. So let's not mince words here. KJP, you've not just misled the American public, you have spit in the face of reality openly and shamelessly. And if the Biden administration considers that kind of bald-faced lying an acceptable form of governance, then, my friends, we are in even worse trouble than we thought. Many Twitter users responded to KJP's outrageous border comments, including Steve Guest, who said, "Give me a break. A record amount of fentanyl has flowed across the border. There's been 7.2 million illegal border crossings, 1.4 million gotaways." Guy Benson, he added, "Same woman says Biden is so energetic and busy that she struggles to keep up with him. So the sort of brazen gaslighting is kind of her shtick." And another added, "OMG, this one wins the Gaslight Awards of 2023. What's unfolding before our eyes is nothing short of a dismantling of the American dream orchestrated by those who took an oath to protect it." We're not just dealing with different political ideologies here. We're dealing with a complete rejection of objective truth. And that should alarm us all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get real. The audacity of KJP's lie isn't just a slap in the face to every American. It's a harbinger of something far more troubling. We're talking about a culture of deceit that is seeping into the highest levels of government, poisoning the well of public trust. When you can stand in front of a nation and deliver a falsehood of this magnitude without a shred of accountability, you're not just bending the truth, you are breaking the social contract. This isn't just about a border issue. It's about the decaying foundation of our republic. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of America are we leaving for our children if flagrant lying becomes the norm in the corridors of power? And remember, if they can lie about something as visible as our border, what else are they lying about? Angie, how did Oliver Anthony respond to critics during his appearance on the Joe Rogan podcast?
Oliver Anthony's chart-topping song Rich Men North of Richmond has the liberal elites in a tizzy, shaking up the narrative with his raw take on the welfare state. Despite its popularity, critics are up in arms over lyrics that target welfare abuse. Enter Joe Rogan, who defended Anthony on his podcast, highlighting the reality many working Americans face. But Hollywood's Rainn Wilson, he's suggesting a different tune, hinting at CEOs and corporations. Maybe it's that Hollywood bubble talk, but Wilson misses the point. Rogan's comeback? Maybe Wilson should visit West Virginia to see real struggles firsthand. It's clear Anthony's song resonates because it speaks a truth many are feeling. Liberals, listen up and face the music. Dive deeper, get the whole story by tapping the link in our bio. That's all the news I have for this edition of N3 Prime Time. Now to Gary with your comments from the comment section.
It's time for a segment that I always look forward to, the comment section. Tonight we focus on one topic that has ignited concern and strong opinions across our audience. Tucker Carlson's alarm on the plot against Donald Trump, and boy, did you have something to say about it. First up, Clayton says, God bless and protect Donald Trump and his family. Amen to that, Clayton. In a nation increasingly fraught with radicalized rhetoric, let's not forget that we're talking about a man's life, a family man, a grandfather, for heaven's sake. Your prayers echo the sentiment of many. Next, we have I'm So Smart 942 stating, Tucker is correct. I've been thinking this for months now. Watch out, President Trump. Watch your back. I am with you 100%. This isn't a shame. It's a real American tragedy that we're even discussing the safety of a former president as if he were a mob informant. And you're not alone in feeling this way. And that should concern all of us. And then there is Kathleen Sue, and she says, it doesn't come as a surprise. God save President Trump. Kathleen, if you're not surprised, neither should anyone else be. When politics turn into witch hunts and when media fuels the flames, nothing's off the table anymore, but we say enough is enough. And then Hill Crinton, 1416, chimes in, Tucker is absolutely right. Save America. Vote Trump 2024. Well, Hill Crinton, you've got the pulse of a thought that is spreading like wildfire. A vote for Trump isn't just a vote for a man. It's a vote for an America that's unapologetically itself. So let the haters wail. We hear you loud and clear. And lastly, Simkim 2064 says, never trust Biden. Praying for Trump. Father God, hear our prayers in Jesus' name. Cover Trump with the blood of Jesus. Holy Spirit, help Trump. Amen. Well, Simkim, when political institutions fail us, when the media distorts truth, where else can people turn to but God? And perhaps it's time we all did a little more praying for our country. And that's it for the comment section, but stay tuned. Up next, we have a special spotlight segment called Looking at You. We're focusing on someone who's making waves but isn't getting the attention they deserve. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Now for our Looking at You segment, where we shine a spotlight on individuals who are out there making waves but aren't getting the attention they deserve. Tonight we're looking at Wesley Hunt, a father, husband, Army veteran, West Point graduate, native Texan, now congressman for Texas' 38th district. Quite a resume, right? You see, Hunt has recently highlighted something that's rather unsettling, posting a video from the World Economic Forum. You know, that's the group that hosts those cozy little gatherings where international elite hobnob and discuss how they like to run your life. But this isn't just some vague policy discussion. This is a video about controlling humans, what you eat, how you live, even whether or not you should have a family. And Hunt's caption says it all. He says, listen closely. They tell you exactly what they want for you. And here's the video.
To eat less meat. We need to stop land being used for cattle and growing grain for the billions of animals that we keep in our intensive farms. And then finally, we cannot hide away from human population growth because, you know, it underlies so many of the other problems. All these things we talk about wouldn't be a problem if there was the size of population that there was 500 years ago.
He goes on to decry the left's climate catastrophizing. Don't eat meat. It's bad for the environment, they say. Don't have a family. The planet can't sustain it, they pontificate. Don't drive a gas-powered car. It's killing the climate, they warn. Well, Wesley Hunt, he sees right through it, and so should you. This isn't about climate, ladies and gentlemen. It's about control. So let's dig a little deeper here. If this was really about the environment, why would the very elites be pushing this agenda, be the ones flying around private jets, consuming exorbitant amounts of resources and living in gigantic homes that eat up more energy in a month than most American households do in a year? It's almost like, well, stick with me here, they're not actually interested in saving the planet so much as controlling it and controlling you. We need more people like Wesley Hunt, who not only recognizes the manipulation, but is willing to say something about it. Hunt is a voice of reason in a cacophony of, let's be honest, climate hysteria being weaponized to bring about societal change that no one voted for. So here's to you, Congressman Hunt. You've caught our attention, and we hope that our viewers pay attention too. Ladies and gentlemen, let's connect the dots. Tonight we've waded through a whirlpool of stories, each spinning its own tale of chaos, decay, and the erosion of the American system. From the political theater in Georgia that unveils a GOP in crisis to the media circus surrounding Donald Trump's trial, we're watching the pillars of justice and government lose their stable footing. And then there's Ron DeSantis, a would-be presidential contender stumbling into oblivion. It's a theme of cacophony of errors and political missteps, one more tragic than the next. But we're not done. The Biden administration's handling of the Maui wildfires, a calamity. California's cancel culture epidemic, a freedom-devouring blight. Biden's alcohol czar, an absurd example of government overreach. Let's not even talk about the president's evident mental decline, as revealed in a tell-all book. Frankly, it's an unsettling reflection of the nation's health. Our institutions, from the White House to the courts, are facing an existential crisis. They're undermining by half-truths, swayed by political whims, and governed by the erratic. So why does this matter? Because you're being robbed of the America you know and love, replaced by an imposter that can hardly keep its act together. We're not just dealing with policy issues, we're staring down the barrel of a systemic collapse. As we wrap up tonight's whirlwind journey through the maze of America's challenges, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Angie for her indispensable news briefs. A huge nod to all of you who tuned in and engaged in our spirited live chat. Your voices are the bedrock of this platform. And regarding your future and safeguarding it, just as we navigate through an America losing its way, it's crucial to protect your assets from losing their value. You heard me say it, and I'll say it again, because since the 1970s, the U.S. dollar has lost 85% of its value after it cut its ties with gold. In a world where our institutions are as shaky as a poorly built house of cards, gold stands as a pillar of stability. And that's why I am grateful to our sponsor, Noble Gold Investments, and they are offering you a free quarter-ounce gold standard coin to get you started on securing your financial fortress. Visit nextnewsgold.com or call 877-646-5347. You can see the number on the screen. There's a link down in the description. They are the only gold company that I personally trust. Remember, if you're not investing, call that number anyway. Heck, prank call them. They're going to love that I said that. But no, seriously, call them. Tell them thank you for sponsoring the Next News Network. They would love to know that. So, my friends, keep on engaging us on Twitter. in the comments. Continue building this vigilant community of like-minded citizens. Remember, you're not just the key to making America great again. You are the captain steering the ship through turbulent waters. And if you enjoyed tonight's voyage, tell a friend and share the link. I'm Gary Franchi, and let me be clear, I'm not here to make you a follower. My mission is to help you forge into a leadership position in your community among the people. Good night, America.